going to go straight into it with a thought leader who really is shining the way on how to find ways to be better coherence with organizations and groups that are doing powerful work in the world. And it's Dr. Julie Krull. Dr. Julie Krull is an integrative health practitioner, psychotherapist, and steward of what Julie calls the New Earth. With over 3 decades of experience and spiritual insight awakened by a childhood near-death experience, Julie supports leaders and changemakers in whole systems healing and the evolution of consciousness. Julie's also a prolific author and is using media to reach more and more people. Her work with Good of the Whole has been such an important place to practice and experiment and to learn, and there's no substitute for experience. Julie. So it's wonderful to have you here with us. You hosted a beautiful program yesterday, the Harmonic Emergence, on that conjunction of February 20th. It was such a beautiful way to kick off these days of transcendence and transformation. And it's an honor to have you here on the symposium.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, really. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And because I'm first, I'd like to begin not by jumping into strategy, but with frequency, because we're going to talk about that today. So let's just take a moment and take one breath together as we arrive. Just a conscious breath, settling us into this moment. And because before we talk about partnerships, alliances, networks, and coalitions, we need to remember something essential for this moment in human history, that collaboration without coherence becomes amplified fragmentation. More meetings, more noise, more effort, just less trust, less impact. So when we understand coherence, and when coherence is present, when energy, intention, and relationship begin to harmonize, something else becomes possible. Then collaboration becomes harmonics. Partnerships become a field of coherence. Alliances become a rising symphony, and networks become organically grown living systems. That is what this moment is asking of us. We're gathered under the beautiful theme of spiraling up. And I love that phrase, because spiraling up doesn't mean rejecting everything that came before it. It means evolving without erasure, honoring what brought us here while becoming willing to release what we can that no longer will carry the future. And that is the invitation I want to name today. Not just how do we collaborate better, but deeper. What kind of consciousness is required for collaboration to become truly transformative? And what kind of leadership is required if we're serious about impact? Not just in numbers, but in depth, integrity, and planetary consciousness, planetary consequence, impact. So my answer is harmonic leadership. Leadership rooted in energy, frequency, vibration, resonance, coherence, presence, and emergence. Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So what if that is also the directive for this conversation? What if our greatest partnership challenge in 2026 is not primarily organizational, but vibrational? Because many of us are still trying to build unity using the architecture of separation. We're still conditioned by brand competition, scarcity and funding competition, control-based decision-making, fear of losing relevance, and inherited structures that reward fragmentation. And then we wonder why so many coalitions become exhausting. You cannot build a unity movement with the architecture of separation. We need a new operating system. And that operating system is rooted in what many of us here know deeply, a unitive narrative. the lived recognition that reality itself is interdependent, relational, and whole. In the unitive age, partnership is no longer my mission plus your mission. It becomes shared stewardship for the good of the whole, for Earth, all life, and future generations. That shift changes everything. So what does partnership look like in that new operating system? I want to name 4 reframes for us, the themes of our symposium here. First, collaborations as harmonics. Not everyone has to sing the same note. In fact, the beauty is in the difference. But harmony requires tuning. It requires listening. It requires discernment, knowing when something is resonant and when something is dissonant. Unity is not the same as undifferentiated inclusion. Love is not the absence of boundaries. Coherence requires discernment. In harmonic leadership, we learn to feel what supports life and what degrades the field. This is not a soft skill. It is a survival skill for the future. It's not easy, but it's essential. Second, partnerships as a field of coherence. A partnership is not just an agreement on paper, it's a living relational field. And trust does not come because we all have good intentions. Trust grows when the field can hold difference without collapse. That requires presence before agenda, truth with care, visible power, clean agreements, and a normal path for repair. Many partnerships do not fail from lack of vision. They fail because the first real friction is treated as a threat. Someone goes quiet, someone becomes strategic, someone protects the brand, the truth goes underground, and then coherence drops. So one of the most important things we can do in this next operating system is to normalize repair. Repair is not failure, repair is maturity. It's how trust becomes durable. In living systems, breakdown is not the opposite of growth. It's often how transformation happens. The chrysalis looks a lot like chaos, but something new is being born. Third, alliances are a rising symphony. A symphony does not ask every instrument to be a violin. And our movements, like Ben said, do not need every organization trying to be the one. One of the greatest inefficiencies in civil society is that too many groups are trying to do everything. Hold the audience, hold the funding, hold the visibility, hold the leadership. But in a symphony, power comes from distinct gifts in shared rhythm. It's the same in superorganisms. So perhaps one of the most important shifts for the unitive age is this. Stop trying to be the one. Become exquisitely clear about your instrument, then learn to play in relationship. That means interdependence over competition, celebrating emerging voices. It means designing ecosystems, not empires. And fourth, networks as organically grown systems. If we're serious about scaling, I want to suggest a reframe. Most people hear scale and think more numbers, more reach, more programs, more followers. But in the next era, I believe scale must be understood as fractal fidelity. Get the fractal right. Get the code clean. Clean intention, clean language, clean relationships, clean governance, clean money. If the fractal is coherent, it replicates. If it carries distortion, separation, extraction, hidden power. It may expand for a season, but it will not endure. So yes, let's scale, but let's scale what's true, not just what's loud. In the unitive age, global impact will be determined less by the size of our organizations than by the coherence of our collaboration. So let's talk about partnering across sectors, private sector, public sector, civil society. Let me offer this. Yes, absolutely, we must partner across sectors. But perhaps the deeper invitation is to evolve the very way we frame sectors. Because the old language of public, private, and civil society as separate domains negotiating territory is itself part of the old consciousness. It's separation. All sectors are in transition now. All sectors are in a chrysalis and under pressure to evolve. All of them, whether they know it yet or not, need new forms of coherence, trust, and shared stewardship. So how do we get from here to there? Let me offer a practical invitation, not a grand theory, a practice. Wherever you're building alliances, create three things. One, a shared coherence protocol, a simple, repeatable way to arrive, be present, sense, decide, repair, and learn. Two, a culture of coherence, including repair. Build in regular coherence checks and ask, what is resonant? What is dissonant? What needs naming? What needs apology? What needs updating? Not as drama, as hygiene, as coherence infrastructure. And three, open source learning for global coherence. Share what you learn. If we keep our breakthroughs private, evolution slows. If we share our experiments, especially our failures, repairs, and iterations, the whole field matures faster. This is a time for audacious co-creative action, not perfection. So try, learn, repair, refine, share, and try again. That is how living systems evolve. And finally, I want to name something at the center of all of this. If we're doing everything the way we've always done, we will produce more of the same. This moment is asking more of us than improved methods. It is asking us to learn how to co-create with the designing intelligence of the universe, with the impulse of evolution itself. Some will call this spiritual guidance. Some will call it collective intelligence. Some will call it emergent wisdom systems. The future is asking for less force and more attunement, not just our ideas. Collective intelligence to emergent wisdom that arises between us when we're present enough, humble enough, and coherent enough to receive it. This, to me, is the deepest meaning of partnership in the unitive age. Humanity becoming coherent enough for a wisdom and a wiser future to move through us is essential now. So spiral up. As we spiral up, my invitation is simple. Let's tune the field. Let's build trust that can repair. Let's design for harmonics and coordination. Let's share what we learn openly, and let's organize collaborations around the good of the whole for the planet, all life, and future generations. The future will not be scaled by our certainty. It'll be scaled by our capacity to be in a field of coherence and to listen together for that next spiral to emerge through us. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for bringing us all together for this important and essential work on the planet.